To the latest on Capitol Hill. Dr. Anthony Fauci is sitting before Congress for the first time since he left the government in 2022, as he faces intense scrutiny from House Republicans as they continue to scrutinize his response to the COVID-19 pandemic and its origins. Kicking off the hearing, Fauci forcefully denied claims that he tried to sway scientists away from concluding the virus came from a lab. Here's a clip.
The accusation being circulated that I influenced these scientists to change their minds by bribing them with millions of dollars in grant money is absolutely false and simply preposterous. I had no input into the content of the published paper.
ABC's Jay O'Brien is on Capitol Hill following the latest. Jay, we heard there from Dr. Anthony Fauci. That's a short clip, but what are the highlights so far this morning?
Well, Stephanie, there are really two themes that have hung over this hearing. The first, as you just noted, are Fauci's strong denials of the accusations that House Republicans have laid at his feet, not just muddying up this idea they claim of a quote-unquote lab leak theory. They say Fauci tried to pour cold water on that theory, but also saying that he was involved in his subordinates' attempts to try to get around federal public records law by using personal emails or by printing out correspondence. Fauci said that he had no knowledge of any of that. House Republicans do have evidence that Fauci's subordinates engaged in that. That was one theme of this hearing. The other theme of this hearing is Republicans' clear desire to exert a pound of flesh out of Fauci. They have criticized his handling of the pandemic. They have criticized his views, or what they believe to be his views on, for instance, the lab leak theory. And then, of course, in some instances, there are Republicans in this committee that have just tried to degrade Fauci. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a chief example. There was this exchange not long ago in the proceedings in which Marjorie Taylor Greene said she refused to call Dr. Fauci doctor because she believes he didn't deserve the title. Jamie Raskin, a top Democrat on this committee, hit back and he said, I'll quote him, "Are we allowed to deny that a doctor is a doctor just because we don't want him to be a doctor?" Marjorie Taylor Greene hits back and says, yes, because in my time, meaning the time in which she was asking her questions, that man does not deserve to have a license. So that's just a snapshot into what these proceedings have looked like this morning, Stephanie.
And Jay, we also know that during that time, Dr. Fauci received a number of threats. He was asked to describe those threats that he received when he took on the role of chief pandemic advisor. Let's take a listen.
It is very troublesome to me. It is much more troublesome because they've involved my wife and my 3 daughters.
And Jay, what more can you tell us about those comments and what else Dr. Fauci said about those threats?
Well, it's interesting because that reference of those threats and what he's gone through, as he illuminated that for the committee, it also connects with a theme that Democrats tried to establish over the course of these proceedings, which was, in effect, apologizing to Dr. Fauci that he had to be there in the first place. Jamie Raskin, again, a top Democrat on this panel, because this is a subcommittee of the Oversight Committee in which Jamie Raskin is the top Democrat, apologized to Dr. Fauci that he even had to be there in the first place. He said this was political. He said Republicans, to paraphrase Raskin, were treating Fauci like a criminal, is the word that he used. And he tried to draw a kind of analogy to the Trump trial. But all of that to say is Democrats made a point to try to defend Dr. Fauci here and condemn in some instances the allegations of Fauci's subordinates to try to circumvent public records law, but also try to insulate Fauci and thank him for his decades of public service, particularly during the pandemic, Stephanie.
Jay, thank you so much. Jay O'Brien for us on Capitol Hill. Thanks.